So a couple weeks ago, I put a game on Steam called Cloud Climber, and it went like kind of semi-viral by my standards, at least. So I'm going to be sharing with you all of the download stats and the viewership stats to kind of give you a better idea of just kind of a larger database for stuff that you can expect to see on Steam. So hello, hi, I'm Gavin. I'm an indie game developer, and I'm currently working on a game called My Beautiful Paper Smile, which you can check out on Steam. It's really cool. And today I'm going to be talking about my game Cloud Climber, like I just mentioned. And it's a game that I spent 1 week working on, and I put it on itch.io, GameJolt, and Steam. And I'm going to be going over all the stats for all that stuff. But before we hop into that, I just want to remind everyone that if you're not subscribed to the channel, you definitely should, because I talk about video game development. And if you like listening to people talk about video game development, then you should definitely subscribe. So really fast, I just want to preface this. I spent 1 week doing a game jam back in December of 2020, making a game called Cloud Climber. Spent a week on it, put it on itch, did pretty well over there, and we're going to get into those stats later. But first, we're going to do the Steam stats, because I know that's probably what everybody is here to see, because that's going to be the most interesting stuff. So because this was such a short game, right, it's only about 15 minutes long, I made it free. So the download count, I'm not like a millionaire. When you see these big download numbers, don't think that I'm making money, okay? It's a lot easier to get downloads when your game is free, as opposed to if you're trying to, get people to pay for it. So just keep that in mind. These stats might not apply super well to your project, but I think it's a lot of really good information to have about different areas of the Steam store and where games are going to be getting the most views from. As well as I'm also going to be going into, why I think it has done as well as it has and how it has gotten as far as it has. So let's hop into that. All right, so here is the download stuff. I figured I'd just jump into this stuff first because it's probably the most interesting. So as you can see, the total player count for the past 20, 22, 23 days, something like that, is 83, just over 83,000 users. So this is mostly people coming from the front page of Steam. It sat on the front page on the new and trending list for about 2 weeks, and you'll see some of that data once we hop into the viewership stuff. But as you can see here, in the first not quite 24 hours, because I released the game at 6 a.m. my time. So in the first, 18 hours, it got 2,122 downloads. So in that amount of time, with that number of downloads, it got onto the front page. So keep in mind this is free, and these numbers are probably, if you wanted to get onto the front page on new and trending, I don't know if the download count and purchase count would give you the same result. So I don't know if it would take 2,000 purchases, to get onto the front page of Steam. It might be based on revenue is another thing. I really don't know. So that's hard to say, but that's a number. So I think to get onto the front page, it wasn't actually quite 2,000 downloads. It was probably more because it got on probably around 3 or 4 in the morning. So before the 24-hour mark, or I guess, yeah, something like that. And then it boosted up the next day, because then it was on the front page. It had its first, or not quite, basically its first full 24 hours on the front page. So I got 6,000, almost 7,000, then I got 7,000, almost 8,000, and then it started dropping off from there, just as I would assume, a lot of the people who maybe had seen it on the front page, they'd seen it after a couple days, and then, less people started downloading it because they weren't interested. They'd already played it, or they'd already seen it and they weren't interested. Something like that is all I can assume. For some reason, it won't let me see okay, there's the viewership for that, or downloads for that day. So that's basically that. The past few days, it's still been getting over 1,000 downloads per day, about 20, 23 days in. You can see the free licenses is about twice as much as the first time downloads, which I believe is pretty consistent with my other free game, My Friend is a Raven, which also has similar numbers, I think. I made a video about that one as well, so I might have those stats in that video. I'm not actually certain. But typically you'll see the free licenses be about twice as much as the first time downloads. And then another thing that I find interesting with, and I guess I should clarify what the difference is here. So on free games on Steam, if you add the game to your library, so let's say you're on the Steam store, right, and you see a game, you'll see a little play game button, right, if it's free. And if you hit the play game button, it'll add it to your library. And that counts as a free license. And once the person actually goes into their library and downloads the game, that's when, well, actually, you can see right here. So first time downloads is when the person has downloaded and then has recorded playtime in the app. So after they've actually downloaded and played it. So the free time, the free license is just, it just means that they've basically just claimed a copy. But anyways, getting back up here, you can see the wishlist count is actually up at 17,000. And this is something that really surprised me with my first free game, My Friend is a Raven, because I wasn't expecting to see many people add it to their wish list, because why would they, right? It's not like it's going to be going on sale anytime soon. But I asked around, and it seems like a lot of people will add free games to their wish list kind of as a means of bookmarking it. A lot of people don't realize, I guess, that you can just claim a free copy to add it to your library so that you can download it later. And so they'll instead just kind of add it to their wish list as a bookmark. As you can see, a lot of the people who have wish listed have also then later on downloaded it. And another thing that I thought was kind of interesting is the number of wish lists before launching. So the wish list count was actually pretty darn good. So on most games, I think, just judging off of games from developers that I've talked with and my own games, typically a decent game without much promotion will probably get between 10 and 20 wish lists per day. Sometimes less, sometimes more. It depends on the quality of the game and, lots of other factors. How good your trailer is, your screenshots, description, all that. It just kind of depends on how viable it is. So 10 to 20 per day is pretty typical. Cloud Climber here was getting about 50 per day. So it got 53 the first day that it was, this is wishlist, during the kind of pre-launch phase when it was still coming soon. And so it got 53 the first day, 47, 40, and then it went up to 69, 59, and then 155, which I'm assuming is once it popped up onto the coming soon pages. So when people are browsing Steam and they're looking at the games that are going to be coming out, in the next few days, I'm assuming that's where this kind of bump in wish lists came from. And I think my camera just did a weird thing. I think it did indeed, but no, it should be better. All right, so then you can see it goes up to 881. That's the first day that it was released. And then it just kind of goes up from there and then continues to trickle down. And then we see a steep drop off here. This is when it fell off of the front page. So obviously it started getting a lot less traffic then, and you can see a significant drop. So that's the wish list stuff. So basically, if you're seeing wish list numbers of 50, 60 per day on a pre-launch game just in like the first few weeks without any promotion, that's a good sign. It's a good sign. So those are some reference points to take a look at. But also, if your game isn't getting that, maybe you can be discouraged by it, but like I guess that's average, it's kind of normal. So I guess, everything about this launch was honestly a lot better than I was expecting. full disclosure. I was not expecting it to do this well. I mean, I was kind of my pre-launch prediction, not prediction, but hopes. I was hoping, I was like, if this game got 20,000 downloads in the first week, I would be thrilled. And first week, it ended up doing about 45,000, which was, it doubled my wildest dreams. So that was really cool. So I don't know why I went off on that, but whatever. So I think that's about all that I have here. I guess we can check out the concurrent. Well, we can check out the concurrent daily users. This, however, is not a very useful chart, though. So if you watched my last video about this game, for like the first 2 days, I had a glitch where the game would run in the background after you close it, like 30% of the time. So, and I think that was inflating the user count, the concurrent player count numbers, because I think Steam thought that people were still playing the game when they weren't. So I'm assuming that these numbers aren't inflated, but if you look at like a site like SteamDB, for example, yeah, so you can see it says that there was an all-time peak, a peak player count of 546, and this is probably higher than that voice crack. And this is probably higher than it actually was. I'm guessing it was probably at least about 30% lower, since like 30% of people were still had the game open for probably hours potentially. So this is probably 10, 20, 30% lower than it actually was, until a few days later, when I think it kind of evened out again. All right, so let's hop into viewership data. All right, so this is the stuff that I think is probably most interesting, next to seeing like how many downloads it takes to get onto the front page. And also, actually, real quick, getting into that, there's two main areas that your game can go to start getting a lot of promotion from Steam. If your game is doing moderately well, if it's starting to do pretty well, then it's going to start popping up on the genre-specific tag pages. So if we go to Steam, you can see if you go to the Browse tab here, you can browse through all of these different genres. So we've got free-to-play, which is the most popular one. Then you got early access, demos, and then you got all the different genres, platforms. So if we go to, if we browse free-to-play, then you've got these, oh, hey, here's one of my other games. So then you can pop up here. So see, this game that I put out, that's kind of funny, has been doing moderately well. And maybe I'll do a video about this at some point. I don't know. But in any case, it's been doing moderately well. So it pops up on the new and trending tab for this specific category, which is free-to-play games. So if your game is doing okay and it fits under any one of these categories, like let's say it's controller friendly, or let's say it's an action adventure game, then it'll start popping up in these different areas, and you're going to start getting a lot of views from these places. So after that, if you keep on getting really good view or download to view ratios, then you will be bumped up onto the front page, onto new and trending, as long as I think you're still doing well. I'm not entirely sure how the new and trending page works, because sometimes while I was up here, I was noticing games that would they'd pop on for a few hours and then they'd fall back off again, and that happened a bunch throughout the first week. So I don't really know what the deal is with that. I don't know how it works. I'm assuming maybe it's just if a game is doing really well for a couple hours, maybe they'll put it on, right? And then, after, maybe it starts doing worse again, and then the algorithm just kind of pushes it off, it's not doing as well, we're not going to promote this as much. So might be something like that. But in any case, let's hop back into the viewership data here. So here we have, if we go to the last month, we've got views and impressions. So in total, in the past 23 days, I think, it's gotten 40 million impressions and just over 1 million views. Just hit 1 million, looks like probably today, with a click-through rate of 2.49, which I think is fairly typical, although it might be slightly lower since it was on the front page and all that stuff. But then again, it might also be slightly higher if it was on a bunch of discovery queues. So I don't have a lot of points to compare the click-through rate to, but that's there. So as you can see from the sidebar here, most of my visits have been coming from the homepage, right? New and trending, and then from the free-to-play hub, which is the new and trending section for free-to-play games. So from being on this chart here, that's where it got like a lot of its views from, as you can see on the orange line here. And you can see the same stuff correlating down below here with the impressions. You can see free-to-play hub is like the second most popular area where people are finding it, with the homepage being the most popular. So on the homepage, how many views do you get? Well, you get about 100,000 views for if you're like at the very top of new and trending for the first few days. So I got 110,000, 122, 98, 97, and then it just kind of goes down from there. 67, 57, 40, kind of hovers around 40, high 30,000 for about a week, and then it drops off, and now it's down to getting around 10 to 15,000 views per day. And this is just kind of trickling in from other sources, like a little bit off the free-to-play hub, because you can go back multiple pages, so maybe people are browsing back a ways. Yeah, and you can see Cloud Climber here. So people are still finding it through that chart. They're getting it on through, I don't know what all. Let's see here. We got Discovery Queue is getting it some views, other random pages, direct navigation. So if people have, I guess, I don't know exactly what direct navigation would be coming from. Direct navigation is one that's weird. I don't understand direct navigation much. There's not much explanation as for what exactly that entails. But you can see kind of the same thing down here. So impressions-wise, front page visibility gives you like 2 to 3 million impressions. And that, if you don't know, impressions are basically just people who saw the capsule image. So I just gave my game an impression right now. And all of these other games, I'm giving them all an impression by seeing their listing. So then you can see, once again, drops off as it leaves the front page. And then we're hovering, kind of going down from, about 500,000, 300,000 lately, the past few days, it looks like. So, yeah, you can see a breakdown here of where all this traffic is coming from. Homepage is 353,000 visits, which is 35% of the total. The free-to-play hub is 25%. They're pretty similar, fairly close, fairly-ish. Discovery queue, I think we can expand this even more here. So we got the new and trending, more like this, all these different other areas, trending among friends, community recommends. It's got 23 visits from there. It's weird. Sometimes you get just these random, like a couple views from just random little areas on the storefront. But so we got from the new and trending tab for free to play, coming soon list, which should have been those pre-launch views. Discovery queue, which is just discovery queue. Direct navigation. I'm interested to see external websites. 10,000 views from external websites. So this is from Google searches. 2,000 from Reddit. That's actually interesting. 2,000 from Reddit. I wish I could get like the specific link that this stuff was coming from. I did put out a few Reddit posts, but none of them, one of them got like 50 upvotes. And I'm surprised that's actually got 2,000 views there. But YouTube is 1,300. PC Gamer did an article about it. So we got 400 views from that. So we got some from Twitter, other news sites, Yahoo, unknown random stuff. Bot traffic, this is another one that I don't really understand, but 6,000 random views from that. Cool. Valve website, Games Hub, more like this. Got a couple of views from there. And then there's just a bunch of other random areas that that has trickled in from, including emails. Like, okay, marketing message, 1 view, random stuff like that. So in total, it's got the what is it at? Yeah, 40 million impressions, 1 million visits, and I'm pretty happy with that. Next quick thing that I just want to mention is that Cloud Climber, a big part of putting it on Steam was simply a way to help get my brand out there more, and to also help advertise my other game, My Beautiful Paper Smile. So if you see on the Cloud Climber store page here, what am I looking for? Oh, right here, duh. I linked my other game here, hoping that, if people liked this one and enjoyed it, then maybe they'd buy this one. And I am happy to say that some people did. I've gained some fans, and I think Cloud Climber is probably, for the past 23 days or so, it's been producing an extra 3 to 5 sales or so. Nothing life-changing, but an extra few sales, which has been kind of cool. And another thing that I wanted to mention is the review count. Now, it seemed like people were reviewing Cloud Climber more than, at a higher than average rate. So I believe, we could just do the math here. It's something like 1 in 50-ish. 1 in 40, 1 in 60, 1 in 50-ish is about the rate that people will review the game. Which I've talked to some developers that have rates that are way higher, like 1 in 150 or 1 in 200 or whatever. And I think on My Friend is a Raven, it's 1 in over 100. I think it's about 1 in 100 or 1 in 90. And so I would assume, I can't verify this, but I'm assuming that having more reviews or a higher download to review ratio is going to get your game pushed up into various areas of the Steam store quicker than if let's say I had 100,000 downloads and 1,000 reviews that were let's say 90% positive, and then let's say I had a game that had also had 100,000 downloads but had 5,000 reviews. I'm guessing the one with 5,000 reviews, assuming that they were all also relatively positive, would do much better. So I'm guessing that helped the game get pushed up onto the front page quickly. Kind of just an assumption, but it seems like it would make sense. So that's one of those things where I don't know why people chose to review it more than other games, or why people would review a game less than another one. I don't really know. So if you do know, be sure to leave a comment down below so that my YouTube video can get pushed up higher in the YouTube algorithm. Yeah, all right. So let's take a look at itch.io stats now. That's about all. And here we have Cloud Climber up on the front here. So let's take a look. So if we go to our Cloud Climber analytics here, we'll see that I did release this one earlier because it was for the Game Jam. And so because of that, I had to launch it on itch.io first, right? Because that's where the Game Jam was taking place. So it's not letting me like show the individual views per day, but as you can see, it did fairly well. Just right off the bat, I think it looks like you got like 500 views day one, a little over 500 day two, and it kind of trickled down, but stayed fairly steady, going down to maybe around 200, about 200 views per day here. And then it actually got featured. So it took it about a month, and I had kind of given up hope that the game would get featured on itch.io, but it did. And then it went up to over 1,000 for a few days, and then it just kind of trickled down as it, slowly fell off of the front page, and other games got featured in front of it. And download-wise, the view to download ratio on itch.io for Cloud Climber was actually very high, and it was higher than any of the other games that I've put on itch.io. I think it was about 1 in like 2.5 people who viewed it downloaded. I mean, you can see right here. Okay, so it's like 1 in 3 for 29,000 total views and 9,852 downloads. So with this amount of traffic, like at its height, like up in here, it only got as high as like the number 10 spot on the site, I believe. I think that the other games that were up there were probably just doing really well at the time. Because like, for example, now I've got this other game that I just put out recently, Night in River Egger. And this one is already up to, what is this? Number 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This is number 11 already, and it has much lower stats. It's only getting 60 to 70 downloads per day, whereas Cloud Climber was getting hundreds per day and wasn't even this high. So I don't know what the deal is with that. I'm guessing, the games at the time when Cloud Climber was, getting views and downloads, I'm guessing the other ones up at the top here were just doing way, way better. They were probably getting like thousands of downloads or something. So something like that. But in any case, that's about all there is here. It got a lot of comments, but it didn't get very many ratings. If I compare this to My Friend is a Raven, My Friend is a Raven got, I think right now it's got maybe like 6,000 or 7,000 downloads, but it's got like over 50 ratings. So a lot less people are rating this game, even though I think they're rating it even better, but I think it's higher rated, but there just aren't a lot of ratings, so it's possible that contributes to the itch.io algorithm some. So that's possible. Also, 136,000 impressions, 1.6% click-through, which is surprisingly much lower than on Steam, which is not something that I would expect. It's possible that the Steam click-through rate is simply inflated by areas like direct navigation and probably mostly the discovery queue, since discovery queue is the number 3. That's 12% of views, so it's inflating the click-through rate somewhat, since you don't get an impression counted for a discovery queue view. As you can see here, there's no impression, so you can see like from the home page the click-through rate is 1.4, free-to-play hub is 2.37. So discovery queue and some of these other areas like external websites are probably inflating it just a little bit. Probably not that much though. It's probably not super significant, but in any case, that's itch.io. You can see the breakdown of all the visits here. The vast majority is coming from itch.io itself, with a little bit coming from YouTube, Google, and some of the other games lists. But overall, itch.io is like 10% of, my downloads total. So it's not a huge area for downloads, but it's definitely a significant portion. I mean, an extra 9,000 people, an extra 30,000 views, and this is just in the first few months. So, it's one of these scenarios where you might as well. So if you have a game that you could put on itch.io, I definitely recommend it, as well as with GameJolt, which is where we're going to check out next. So on GameJolt, I have not gotten any featuring or anything. So this is all just organic traffic, and it hasn't done particularly well. But let me see if I can. Here's the analytics. It's always hard for me to find these. All right, so all time. It's not. For some reason, it doesn't want to give me a. Okay, here's a breakdown here. All right, so December 7th is when I put it out there, and it was getting about 100 views per day. I don't know why it's. Oh, here we go. Here now it's showing more stuff. Yeah, no, for some reason, the GameJolt stats here are being weird and not showing everything. But in any case, I published it on like December 27th, which I believe is probably a little later than when I published it on Itch.io. Well, I actually know it is, but it got it's gotten almost 3,000 views and just over 1,000 downloads. And then there's also 136 installs, but I'm not sure what the difference is between a download and install. I've talked to some people about that, and they don't know either, so there you go. So GameJolt is obviously by far the lowest performing site for this particular game. GameJolt tends to focus a lot around horror and fan games and stuff like that, so maybe my game just doesn't fit with the audience so much. I also didn't get any featuring, so that could be a thing. Not entirely sure, but that's that. You know, I've had some games do much better. My game, My Friend is a Raven, for example, that I put out last year or the year before, did much better, and I think is even now still doing better than Cloud Climber is now even. But yeah, so nothing super significant here on GameJolt, but I thought I'd, obviously throw that in anyways because it's part of the Cloud Climber stats. Okay, well, I think that's about it. All right, so that's about all for the stats, but that's not the end of the video. So don't click off yet. So hopefully those stats do give you kind of a better understanding of what kind of viewership you can potentially get, what it might take to get onto the front page, and what you can expect if you do get there. I always find, statistics breakdowns and stuff like this really, really interesting because it's really, really useful to have, various data points that you can compare stuff to, so you can figure out, okay, well, how well can I expect to do if this is done this well and this is done that well, where might my project land? So hopefully that you find that useful. But I just want to really quickly go into just briefly why I think it's done as well as it has. And obviously it's not like this is some like massive viral success and like, oh, everybody knows who I am or anything like that. It's just, it's done fairly well. And so I think the main thing is that it's free. That helps a lot. But that being said, there's a lot of free games that don't get as much attention. So I think the art style is definitely helping. It's not only that it looks different, but I think, at least to me, it looks nice. It looks nice. So that's important. And I think probably the most important thing is simply the setting. Because if you look at the screenshots, if you look at the story and everything on the store page, it all revolves around the setting of this unique world where water is all evaporated and people are in the clouds. And I just realized that my background light died. I don't have a rim light. Oh no. Whatever. It's a shame, but it's a shame that I don't care about. So I think it's just been really, really attractive to people to see a game that takes place in a world that they have never been in. If I show you a game that takes place in a haunted hospital, or that takes place on a raging battleground, or on a ship, or in a submarine, or on a spaceship, or on another planet, these are all worlds that you've seen and that you've probably played in before in other games. So seeing something that takes place on these ancient towers is something that I know I've never seen before. There's probably some other games that are kind of like it. I'm sure there are. But there were enough people out there who hadn't seen something like that before in the context of a video game that that they found it intriguing. And so I think that was the most useful thing. And obviously, if this was a paid game, if I was charging money for this, let's say it was even 2 hours long, but like the store page and everything looked the same. If I was charging 5, 10, 15, 20 bucks for it, it probably wouldn't have done as well. It might have still done decently, but I feel like it would need to have more substance, more gameplay. It's very walking simulator-y. The strategy of making a free game, get fairly popular is definitely not the same as making a paid game actually do well. That is all I have for you. Hopefully you found that interesting and helpful. If you did, please subscribe, because why not? Like the video, follow me on Twitter at 2stargames. I forgot my own Twitter handle, so that's pretty cool. And other than that, I'll see you guys in the next one.